Calling the meeting to order. This is meeting number 37 of the Standing Committee on International Trade. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format pursuant to the House Order of June 23, 2022. Therefore, members are attending in person in the room and remotely using the Zoom application. I would like to make a few comments for the benefit of the witnesses and members. Please wait until I recognize you by name before speaking. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. For those participating by video conference, click on the microphone icon to activate your mic, and please mute yourself when you are not speaking. With regard to interpretation, for those on Zoom, you have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, English, or French. For those in the room, you can use the earpiece and select the desired channel. A reminder that all comments should be addressed to the chair. For members in the room, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand. For members on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. The clerk and I will manage the speaking order as best we can, and we appreciate your patience and understanding in this regard. Please also know that during the meeting it is not permitted to take pictures in the room or screenshots on Zoom. In accordance with the committee's routine motion concerning connection tests for witnesses appearing by video conference, I'm informing the committee that all witnesses have completed the required connection test in advance of the meeting. Should any technical challenges arise, please advise me. Please note that we may need to suspend a few minutes to ensure that all members are able to participate fully. Is everything good with our translators, Madam Clerk? Everybody looks like everything's functioning properly? All right. Pursuant to Standing Order 108-2 and the motion adopted by the committee on Tuesday, September 2022, the committee is resuming a study of potential trade impacts of the United States Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 on certain firms and workers in Canada. We have with us today the Business Council of Canada, Trevor Kennedy, Vice President, Trade and International Policy by video conference, and the Carbon Infrastructure Partners Corp., Craig Kolinsky, President and Managing Partner by video conference, and Explorers and Producers Association of Canada, Chris Montgomery, Vice President Policy, and Parkland Corporation, Ryan Kermeyer, Senior Vice President, Supply Training and Refining, and from the United Steelworkers Union, Meg Gringes, Assistant to the National Director by video conference. Welcome to all of you. Can everyone please turn on your camera that are participating by video conference?
Madam Chair, excuse me, I have a hard time hearing you. I can see you talking. For some reason, I can't hear you. Could we run another quick check, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Hello, Mr. Carey, can you hear me speaking? Mr. Carey, can you hear me speaking? Hello, Mr. Carey.
It shows the mics are all muted on our end.
Can hear you now, thanks.
On m'avise en même temps.
I'm also hearing that by Zoom nobody was hearing any sound.
Pas un problème de me lier à Monsieur.
It's not only Mr. Carey having an issue.
All right.
No, I was unable to hear as well. No, there's no sound.
I can hear you now.
Do you want me to try?
I still am unable to hear the chair speaking.
We're going to give this another quick shot here. Business Council of Canada, Trevor Kennedy, Vice President, Trade and International Policy.
Thanks, Craig. I couldn't even tell if she was speaking. I can hear you. I can hear Trevor.
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything either.
Okay.
Yeah, neither can I.
Okay. We'll have to suspend for a few minutes.
Glad it
please.
wasn't just me.
No, it wasn't. So we'll just suspend for a few minutes. The meeting back to order. we have with us today. Please raise your hands or shout if you cannot hear. We have the Business Council of Canada, Trevor Kennedy, Vice President, Trade and International Policy. From Carbon Infrastructure Partners Corp., Craig Kolinski, President Managing Partner. Explorers and Producers Association of Canada, Chris Montgomery. And from Parkland Corporation, Ryan Kromeyer, Senior Vice President, Supply, Trading and Refining. And the United Steelworkers Union, Meg Gringetz, Assistant to the National Director. Everybody's good. Nobody's raising their hands and nobody's hollering. All right. Welcome to all of you. I'll start with Mr. Kennedy for what's the matter?
Could I raise just an administrative matter for 30 seconds?
If it's 30 seconds.
It'll be 30 seconds, Madam Chair. I've had discussions with representatives of all of the parties, and I'm wondering if on consensus the committee could direct the clerk to inquire whether our Friday meetings might be able to commence at 12:30 instead of 1 o'clock, which would facilitate many of us getting back to our ridings earlier on Friday afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do that inquiry. Everyone got that clear? Whether we can do it or not will be a discussion with the translators and the departments and the rest of it, but it is a point well raised, so we will report back at our next meeting if we can, as soon as possible. All right? Okay, Mr. Kennedy, you have up to 5 minutes, please.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. Thank you for inviting me to comment on the trade impacts of the Inflation Reduction Act. I'm going to refer to it as the IRA today. But Canada's prosperity and living standards depend on trade, the bulk of which is with the United States. A previous version of the IRA, Build Back Better, would have discriminated against Canadian assembled automobiles and severely undermined the integrity of our integrated auto sector. We therefore were pleased to see that the IRA created a clear carve-in for North American goods and content in the battery electric vehicle supply chain. Unfortunately, in a number of other areas, the IRA poses a clear challenge to Canadian competitiveness and, by extension, Canada's ability to attract and retain investment. Our economy is going through a once-in-a-century energy transition. If Canada does not take action soon to respond to the IRA's generous support and incentives for the clean economy, we could see a significant shift in long-term trade flows across North America, combining with the loss of well-paying jobs. In the fall economic statement, the Deputy Prime Minister announced new investment tax credits for clean technology and clean hydrogen. She said the government is committed to making it more attractive for businesses to invest in Canada to produce the energy that will power the net zero global economy. Unfortunately, there's a significant lack of detail about those tax credits. For example, imagine you're an investor looking to build a major wind to hydrogen project of the sort that the Prime Minister and the German Chancellor discussed this summer. For a project like that, you need wind turbines. The fall economic statement said there will be a 30% tax credit for the purchase of those turbines. That's a start, but investors will want to know, does the tax credit apply to the cost of the foundation on which the turbines sit? Does it apply to the labor that will be required to build the turbine? And what about the road that must be built to the site of the turbine, and so on? Until those details are available, a project of this sort is unlikely to go ahead. I should point out that investment decisions are not just being made in the energy sector. Across our economy in sectors as diverse as agri-food, manufacturing, and retail, Canadian companies have made ambitious commitments to achieve net zero. If you're a company with operations in Canada and the US and you're looking to invest to reduce your carbon footprint, the incentives are better and the rules are clearer in the United States. In the fall economic statement, the government listed a number of areas which it plans to bring forward significant measures or additional actions to level the playing field between the US and Canada. This includes the launch of the Canada Growth Fund, specific labor conditions that will apply to companies receiving the 30% clean technology investment tax credit, any additional technologies that will be eligible for the tax credit, and further measures to incentivize clean tech manufacturing. To repeat what I said earlier, the details surrounding these measures need to be defined as soon as possible, and we can't afford to delay. That's why the Business Council of Canada has called on the government to bring forward its next budget in the first quarter of 2023, and ideally before the end of February, consistent with the traditional budget cycle. Also in Budget 2023, the government must follow through on recent commitments to improve regulatory certainty and expedite approvals for natural resource projects such as LNG, critical minerals, and clean electricity. The Deputy Prime Minister has spoken about the need to make progress in those areas so Canada can help our international partners improve their economic security and achieve their climate change goals. In closing, let me repeat that in the face of the IRA and in a rapidly changing global environment, Canada must act with urgency to secure its fair share of investment and economic activity. Failure to do so will have a significant impact on future North American trade flows for the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Golinsky for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's an honor to be invited to present on these critically important issues. We're here to discuss the Inflation Reduction Act generally, and I will speak more specifically to the deployment of carbon capture and storage and how that relates in the United States versus Canada. Firstly, in the recently passed Inflation Reduction Act, the United States significantly upgraded the 45Q tax credit for CCS in both value and ease of use, particularly by introducing the direct pay mechanism. The value for carbon capture was increased so that geologic storage is eligible for $85 per ton, and enhanced oil recovery is eligible for $60 a ton. In effect, the United States will now become the largest buyer of carbon in the world, and that's unique and notable in that the United States sees that its role is to buy carbon at scale. Second, the United States understands that to attract capital markets to carbon capture and carbon management generally, the economic signal needs to be strong and clear. If the government overpays for carbon in the near future, industry will create scale and through economies of scale reduce costs. And so therefore, over the medium term, the government will end up getting more dollars or more tons of CO2 per dollar committed. So policy certainty and ease of converting carbon credits into cash are two critical features of the Inflation Reduction Act. Three, if Canada continues not to be competitive on CCS in carbon management, investment capital from Canada in our pension sector, the banks, will in fact be deployed into the United States, creating industrial jobs there and helping the United States achieve their 2050 goals. Fourth, Canada must increase policy certainty of carbon pricing through perhaps a contract for differences or a production tax credit, and increase the ease of converting carbon credits into money through either a contract for differences mechanism or a direct pay mechanism. So these two themes of increasing certainty, increasing the value, and increasing the ease of turning carbon credits into cash are where Canada must be moving towards. So finally, I just want to conclude by saying support for carbon capture is not a subsidy to oil and gas. It's a critical investment in reaching net zero. It's essential for the cement industry, the steel industry, the power, and to the ammonia fertilizer industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Montgomery for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. It is a pleasure to be here today on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people to discuss two different approaches to climate policy by Canada and the United States. I'm here representing the Explorers and Producers Association of Canada, or EPAC. EPAC represents over 80 Canadian upstream oil and natural gas producers that produce more than 60% of Canada's natural gas and more than 30% of the country's oil, primarily from conventional resources. EPAC members are reducing their GHG emissions, as evidenced by the National Inventory Report. Specific efforts include significant reductions in methane emissions, the operation of existing and advancement of future CCUS projects, and diversification into hydrogen and renewable resources. Canada has taken a compulsory policy approach to climate ambition that includes a price on carbon, prescriptive regulations for methane, the Clean Fuels Regulation, and a proposed emissions cap on the sector. On the other hand, the United States Congress has failed to pass meaningful climate policy and is instead providing billions of dollars in cash and tax incentives through the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, to achieve reductions. The Supreme Court of the United States has also consistently undercut the ability of the President to regulate the oil and natural gas sector through executive order. The contrast in approaches has made it more challenging to attract investment into Canada for the deployment of emissions reductions technology and undercuts the clean tech ecosystem that traditional industries have spurred here in Canada. As the Deputy Prime Minister has acknowledged, Canada must correct this cross-border disadvantage by shifting its focus from a pure sticks approach to one that includes more carrots in order to maintain the country's climate leadership. EPAC has proposals to address two specific gaps created by the IRA in CCUS and methane mitigation. Regarding CCUS, members should first know that EPAC represents the operators of 3 of the 4 largest operating CCUS facilities in the country and has other members that are actively investing in new CCUS projects and technologies. The government should be congratulated for its CCUS investment tax credit, or ITC, which helps make these projects more economic. However, with the IRA including a guaranteed tax credit of $85 per ton of carbon sequestered, capital for CCUS projects has shifted from Canada to the United States. As publicly stated by Entropy, a subsidiary of EPAC member Advantage Energy, this is because enhancements through the IRA have created a stronger CCS incentive market in the United States with significantly more carbon pricing certainty. The government can close the gap created by the IRA in 3 ways. First, introducing a production tax credit in line with the IRA. This would be EPAC's preferred approach. Second, increasing the inclusion rate of the current ITC. And third, guaranteeing a floor price on carbon through a version of carbon contracts for difference. Second, Canada is a world leader in methane emissions reductions and is set to lower these emissions from oil and gas by 40% by 2025. Canada risks losing its leadership position because of the $850 million the IRA provides to the U.S. oil and gas industry for methane monitoring and mitigation. However, Canada can maintain its leadership position and further reduce emissions, provided government maintains a reasonable regulatory approach and provides targeted supports to reach the most difficult emissions. To this end, EPAC has recommended government repurpose unallocated money from the Emissions Reductions Fund, monies already committed to the industry, to help monitor emissions, advance needed technological development, and further gas conservation efforts. Thank you to members for the time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Krogmeyer, please, for up to 5 minutes.
Madam Chair and honorable members, thank you for the opportunity to attend today's meeting. My name is Ryan Krogmeyer, and I am the Senior Vice President of Supply, Trading, and Refining at Parkland Corporation. We are a Calgary-headquartered Canadian multinational company with a presence in 25 countries, including Canada, the United States, the Caribbean, Central, and South America. Every day, we serve over 1 million customers through our consumer brands, including Chevron, M&M Food Market, Ultramar, Pioneer, and many others. We also own and operate a refinery in Burnaby, British Columbia, that currently supplies about 25% of BC's transportation fuel and 30% of Vancouver International Airport's jet fuel. We were the first in North America to use our existing refinery infrastructure to co-process renewable feedstocks such as Canadian canola and tallow alongside conventional crude oil to produce fuels that have less than 1/8 of the carbon intensity of conventional fuels. Earlier this year, we announced plans to increase our low-carbon leadership by building a standalone renewable diesel complex within the Burnaby refinery and exploring the possibility of producing sustainable aviation fuel. Once completed, these projects will help reduce related greenhouse gases by approximately 2 megatons per year. This is the equivalent of taking over 700,000 cars off the road, or approximately 25% of BC's passenger vehicles. The North America fuel market is very integrated, meaning that Canada competes with the United States for investment and supply of biofuels and low-carbon fuels. Today, Canadian producers stand to be at a competitive disadvantage to our counterparts in the U.S. due to governmental incentive imbalances between the two jurisdictions. The Inflation Reduction Act's passage expands several provisions that incentivize the production of biofuels, such as the blender's tax credit and a producer tax credit. Furthermore, the IRA creates a new credit for the use of sustainable aviation fuel. Given no comparable incentives exist in Canada at the present, The impact of these tax credits in the United States places Canadian producers of low-carbon fuels at a competitive disadvantage. They allow American producers to create low-carbon fuels at a lower net cost, possibly export into the Canadian market and sell at a lower cost, and consequentially discourage demand for domestically produced low-carbon fuels. A supportive incentive environment is needed to ensure a level playing field for domestic low-carbon fuel production and to ensure compliance with domestic regulations, such as the clean fuel regulations, is not done entirely via imports from other markets. Relying on importing low-carbon fuels would also hinder growth within several Canadian industries, including agriculture and forestry, whose feedstocks are used in the production of low-carbon fuels that contribute to our nation's emission reductions. With these considerations in mind, I would like to table the following recommendation. The Government of Canada should rapidly pursue new support mechanisms for low-carbon fuel production domestically, including the introduction of equivalent low-carbon fuel producer tax credits in Budget 2023. Tax credits should apply to all low-carbon fuels produced, blended, or co-processed in Canada for a period of at least 10 years, and should acknowledge the additional supports needed for Canada to produce sustainable aviation fuel. These tax credits or equivalent supports would not only encourage the development of low-carbon fuels in Canada, but provide investment clarity and certainty for domestic producers and the associated supply chain. In closing, we encourage the committee to carefully examine the economic implications of the Inflation Reduction Act for Canadian producers of low-carbon fuels. We were pleased to see in the government's fall economic statement the acknowledgement that these incentive imbalances between the two jurisdictions will pose a competitive challenge to Canadian companies, and the recognition that additional measures will be needed in Budget 2023 for biofuel producers. We look forward to further details on these measures. Thank you again for your time, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Gingrich, for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, and thanks for the invitation to speak today. I'm here on behalf of the United Steelworkers. My name is Meg Gingrich. I'm the assistant to the Canadian National Director of the United Steelworkers. That's currently Marty Warren, and I work out of our national office in Toronto. Our union represents 250,000 members in Canada and 800,000 in North America, in every sector of the economy, and that includes 20,000 members in steel and aluminum and another 15,000 in mining. We're a proud international union with members working in vehicle and clean energy supply chains, among many others, in both the United States and Canada. Generally, we have a positive view of the Inflation Reduction Act, in particular the pro-union labor provisions and some of the Buy Clean components, which we believe will benefit North American aluminum, steel, cement, and mining sectors. The IRA included these elements in no small part as a result of the influence of the United Steelworkers and the rest of the US labor movement. However, we do have concerns about the potential impact on Canadian natural resource extraction and to some extent on manufacturing. To ensure the US doesn't gain too strong of a competitive advantage in clean energy and manufacturing, Canada must develop concurrent policies, for example, on Buy Clean, which we have started to see. The United Steelworkers are pleased with the North American content requirements for electric, auto, and battery producers. We believe this will provide many Canadian firms, including those that employ our members, with some opportunity and will help create and maintain jobs in Canada in the long term. However, we do have some concerns that the IRA's incentives to firms to invest in clean technology, absent any carbon tax, provides a double advantage to US steel producers, for example. Because the steel sector is an energy-intensive, trade-exposed sector, as an immediate response, we believe the carbon tax should not be increased at this time, and we are also supportive of border carbon adjustments. None of this eliminates the need to reduce the climate impact of heavy manufacturing. The United Steelworkers support significant investment into clean steel and other manufacturing technologies and green steel procurement policies. While Canada has made some decent commitments and investments on this front, we must note that decarbonization efforts that have any workforce impacts should be done in consultation with unions, as has not always been the case. Furthermore, on green steel and trade, we support the US approach linking climate and trade policy. We advocate in favor of taking a similar approach as the United States and the EU on the Green Steel and Aluminum Pact, which would have the effect of restricting carbon-intense steel and aluminum products from taking precedence over domestic production. We also express some concern about the impact on critical minerals sectors in Canada. The IRA sets sight on access to critical minerals. These critical minerals provisions of the IRA could prove a boon to Canadian mining. However, the worry really lies in the value-added manufacturing and after the extractive and immediate processing stage. Canada must not be relegated to a site of resource extraction with minimal additional development of downstream manufacturing capabilities. On this front, Canada must work to create markets and supply chains and to incentivize domestic manufacturing. While Canada has taken some initiative on this, for example, the Stellantis battery plant, the Umicore cathode plant, or strategic green investments we've seen at ArcelorMittal and Algoma, we need to do more on this front, again, in a way that includes workers. The announcements in the fall economic statement by Minister Freeland are a good starting point as a response to the IRA. However, we need more comprehensive action. On this point, it may be worth looking at what a Canadian Advanced Manufacturing Production Credit might look like. Canada, including USW members in the mining sector, are well placed to supply the critical minerals needed to take advantage of the IRA critical minerals provisions. The steel sector and manufacturing generally, however, face some challenges via the 100% US iron and steel requirement for domestic energy projects and the sizable, at around 55% in 2024, domestic manufacturing components requirement. The US has pegged its climate policy not only to its trade policy, but really as a linchpin of its renewed industrial policy. It wants to ensure its manufacturing and steel industry not only survives the green transition, but thrives. Canada needs to follow suit if we also want our manufacturing and steel industries to not only survive, but thrive with comprehensive policies and an industrial strategy that will work in the Canadian context, that will combat climate change and create jobs. With the current geopolitical realities, if Canada can't get this right now, when will we? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. On to Mr. Carey for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank the witnesses for being here for this extremely important meeting. I wanted to start off, I think, with Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy, on November 1st, we had the Canadian manufacturers and exporters here. And there was a sense of urgency, as many of our witnesses have stated. Canada seems to be playing catch up. This IRA, we knew the Build Back Better was horrible. And one witness, Flavio Volpe from the parts sector, actually said this was the correction to that. But we're still running catch up. And the manufacturers and exporters said something extremely concerning to me coming from Oshawa, where manufacturing has a great history. But they're concerned because of the IRA that we're going to see a flight of capital investment out of Canada into the United States, and it could reduce the number of manufacturing jobs in Canada. Now, those witnesses, November 1st, before the fall economic statement, they said it was urgent. They wanted to see action, and everybody's been very polite, and we're saying it's great that the government recognizes it. But there doesn't appear to be anything in the fall economic statement that is really going to be taking action now. Can you please elaborate so that you can give us some advice for the next budget, what needs to be done promptly so that we don't see this flight of capital investment out of Canada? Because we have all the tools here, like Ms. Gingrich said, the value added part of it. We don't want to just be sending minerals down there. We want to be building here. Can you please give us some good advice on that?
Well, thank you for the question, and I think I'd repeat what others have mentioned before about so the move from Build Back Better to IRA. We agree that now we're inside the tent. The IRA did create Canadian content, North American content does count for some of the EV credits, for example, or the incentives, which is a positive development from Build Back Better. But the risk now that we face is if you are an investor, whether you're in Canada or an international investor looking at investing in North America, we're not facing a level playing field because of IRA and because of the generous programs in place. So in the fall economic statement, there are some interesting programs that were announced, but there's a lot of details we need. And so our response to that is that we are looking for a budget early next year to clarify what these programs will look like. Every day is important. We know countries around the world are looking at Canada, they're looking at the United States, they're making decisions now that will impact our trade for the next several decades. And so really time is of the essence, I think is the way I would answer that question.
Well, I think we would agree with that. We actually had Toyota here on November the 1st as well, and they mentioned the urgency because companies can't just ramp up overnight. They need to have certainty in policy. And they mentioned that they wanted to see that firms that manufacture here are not penalized for choosing to build vehicles and batteries in Canada. Could you please elaborate on these planning decisions that companies have to make? How far ahead do they have to make these decisions before they make the investments in Canada? And why, if we don't get it right in the spring, this could be devastating for economies like my community depends upon?
Well, we're seeing very rapid change, I think, in this sector, particularly the auto sector, but really many other sectors that are making, as I noted, a kind of a once-in-a-generational change. And so the next several years are really critical, and IRA set out a very clear path of how the United States plans to attract investment into their economy. We're seeing a lot of interest. There was a lot of interest in Canada. I think there still is a lot of interest in Canada, but now there are questions about how we plan to respond. And the sooner we can answer those for companies, whether they're from Japan, Korea, Germany, elsewhere, is really critical to make sure we attract that next generation of investment.
Next questions for Mr. Krogmeyer. Thank you very much for your comments. And you were talking about the importance of a convergence of government policy. I know when we were in government, we worked hard to make sure that the regulatory environment between Canada and the U.S. Could be as consistent as possible. Could you please comment on the competitiveness issue if we don't have a congruent or convergent regulatory environment, and what threat that does play to capital being lost to the United States?
Thank you for your question. The crux of the issue really is one of competitiveness, and it's been said already, but the ability to attract capital investment here in Canada with this unlevel playing field is a big issue. And in the space of renewable fuels production or biofuels production, which is a critical component to decarbonizing over the next several decades, we will suffer from having the ability to convert all the natural resources here in Canada, such as forestry residue, fish oil residue, tallows, canola oil, for example, have that ability to convert that into a usable, renewable, low-carbon fuel that we can put back into farmers' and consumers' gas tanks. And there is a virtuous cycle there that we will not be able to achieve if we cannot attract the capital investment needed to fund these types of projects.
Thank you very much. Mr. Arya, for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Canada, we are prosperous. We got high standard of living because of our international trade. I think 65% of our GDP comes from trade, and bulk of the trade is with the U.S. So whatever U.S. does on the economic front will certainly affect us. So we have to be cognizant of the fact, and I'm glad that we are looking in detail into the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act and see the consequences for Canada here. In my view, in addition to this very important act, I think we should also simultaneously consider the Chips and Science Act of 2022, passed by the United States. That's a $280 billion act. Though it is popularly known as CHIPS Act, with $52 billion going into the chips production, $200 billion is going towards setting up of 20 technology centers for chips-related energy transition, biotechnology centers. So those investments, that is called in fact, experts call it the most significant investment in the industrial policy of the United States that was made in the last 50 years. So that is also important. We have to look into how that affects Canada in various spheres of economy here. The U.S. Secretary of Commerce stated a few days back, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to secure our national security and revitalize American manufacturing and revitalize American innovation and research and development. So, having said that, we are focused on the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act. The talk is on trying to match whatever the U.S. is doing. During the last meeting, we had several witnesses. I think one of the two key points that was brought out was by a union leader, CBTU, Canadian Building Trades Union President Sean Strickland mentioned we cannot respond line by line, but we should respond smartly. That is what I think we should focus on. We are talking about the flight of capital, how Canada is losing, all the money will go into the US. At the same time, we are forgetting, few weeks back, US defense, US military were exploring how they can invest in Canadian mineral projects for critical minerals. That was a surprise for many, but not to several of us. We know that the Defense Production Sharing Agreement in 1956 considers all Canadian companies to be US domestic companies for the defense purchases. So there are certain significant areas of strength we have in Canada. These strategically important things we have in Canada, I think we can focus on and respond smartly to those sectors. Recently, Government of Canada signed an agreement with Ontario provincial government for the Ontario Regional Table. This is the 9th regional table that the federal government has signed agreement with provinces, wherein we try to align resources, we try to work on the timelines, we plan to work on the regulatory process so that we can jointly develop the smart electricity grid, the critical minerals supply chain. We can do things related to nuclear technology and sustainable forestry. Madam Chair, I would like to ask Mr. Kennedy of the Business Council what his thoughts are on these regional tables and what are the key things that we can sort of adopt a Team Canada approach similar to how all the political parties in the Parliament and all the provinces, the industry bodies work together when it came to NAFTA renegotiation. So in the same way, what is that we can do in the context of this regional table? What is the key things that we need to address jointly?
Well, maybe more in a general sense, I'd be happy to share. I mean, I think it's critical that industry and government do work together. We are facing a very competitive global environment, and we are seeing our partners, but also sometimes our competition around the world, really take an aggressive approach towards securing future supply chains and dominance in certain sectors. So for Canada to remain competitive, we need to have a close partnership, and I'll go back to my previous message around the need for urgency in light of the challenges we're facing globally.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
You have 40 seconds left, sir.
And Mr. Montgomery, time is quite limited, so the same questions, if you can give me your inputs.
Yeah, so as far as the regional tables go, I think industry would hope that the provinces and the federal government could work together to remove particular barriers to emissions reductions in the sector. For our sector, those would be a combination of electrification and CCUS.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Savard-Tremblay for 6 minutes.
Oui, bonjour, merci.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome to all of the witnesses and colleagues. Thank you, witnesses, for your presentations. My first question for the Business Council of Canada, Mr. Astley, your former VP, shared a letter that was quite critical and highlighted that the government was spreading too thin and that we didn't have an industrial strategy in Canada that was well thought out, and was disappointed to see that there was no urgency. And according to you, what is lacking so that we could have a proper industrial strategy? What should it include?
Well, thank you for the question, and my colleague Robert Asselin would certainly be a good person to speak to in future. My focus is more on international trade and our competitiveness, so I'll have to answer in a very general sense. But certainly it goes back to a comment I made previously about looking at how, and particularly the United States, has approached industrial policy in a very aggressive way to secure its leadership in key sectors, the critical sectors that it's identified. And so Canada does need to have, I think, an adequate approach to that.
Madam Chair, I'm not hearing any interpretation.
Depuis le début de la réponse.
Since the beginning of the response, I haven't been receiving interpretation.
While we check, can you please try again? Start with your response again, sir.
Sure, I'll try to repeat as best I can. Is the interpretation working now?
No. For a moment until we clear up the translation issue.
Thank you.
Try to repeat your answer again.
Say third time's the charm.
That's it, exactly.
So I'll do my best to answer. My focus is, or at least for the council, more on the trade and international policy side. My colleague, Robert Asselin, would be much better positioned to speak about industrial policy at length. But to repeat a message that we've communicated, and looking at the United States in particular, given IRA, but CHIPS was referenced and other key activities. Many countries, the United States is aggressively approaching industrial policy in a way to secure its dominance in certain key sectors. So Canada also, we think needs to look closely at how our partners around the world, our competition around the world, principally the United States, are leading the way with industrial policy, which is often a close partnership between industry and government to ensure that they have the technology, the innovation, the environment needed to lead in the future economy. So I apologize, I wouldn't be able to go into too much detail beyond that, just given my area of expertise. But I certainly think it's a very important topic to look at in the context of our trade relationship with the United States and how we remain competitive over time.
And with the emergency, the urgency to react to the Inflation Reduction Act, what could be announced in order to better support our industries?
So on the referencing back to the fall economic statement, I mean, there were interesting measures that are more targeted. I think the reality for Canada and for many of our peers around the world, whether they be in the European Union or elsewhere, we don't have the resources. We can't match the US dollar for dollar, but there are targeted measures in the fall economic statement. The question we go back to is just the details. And until the details are really confirmed, we don't know if we've had a chance to level the playing field and whether or not industry, will what's an adequate response to IRA. So once again, we're looking toward budget 2023 in early next year as an opportunity to clarify some of those measures.
Because the time has come. We are here to hear from you. If you have any recommendations or suggestions for it to be found in the budget, the time is now. So if you have anything to add, please do.
Did you want anyone in particular to address that issue?
Oui, en fait, je renvoyais tout.
Yes, it was still for Mr. Kennedy.
Okay.
I think we'll have some communication around that soon. But the general point is we like to see a budget early in 2023 to clarify how some of these tax credits will function, how the Canada Growth Fund will function, and so on.
Thank you very much. And my next question now is for Ms. Gingrich, and if we don't have enough time, I'll come back to it later. The government is having will have $250 million for different measures for employment and the creation of training for sustainable jobs. And what do you think of this? Because the United States have been heavily investing. Do you believe that this Canadian funding will be good enough compared to the U.S.?
It's hard to say whether it will be enough. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with what the design is on how the training actually happens and who it's done with. If it's done in conjunction with unions to sort of figure out where the skills are now, where some skills gaps might be, what type of training is actually needed, and are there jobs at the end of it, and is there a real commitment to good union jobs at the end of it? So, I mean, I'm not sure if it'll be sufficient in terms of the amount. But I would say that almost more than anything, a lot of it has to do with the design and the involvement, the inclusion of unions in these types of training and in planning them. So we're making sure that we're actually using the skills that our workers have for these jobs that go into the future, especially as existing jobs might be threatened.
Thank you very much. On to Mr. Cannings for 6 minutes, please.
Well, thank you, and thank you to all the witnesses. I'll continue with Ms. Gingrich, kind of a follow-up to that question, and I'll start with, you talked about, critical minerals and the need for value added. When I was on the Natural Resources Committee in the last Parliament, we had a study on critical minerals and talked a lot about the need for this whole vertical ecosystem from the exploration to mining of graphite, lithium, cobalt, rare earth metals, etc., to the production of battery parts, to the production of batteries, to the manufacture of cars and recycling batteries, the whole ecosystem. And I'm just wondering if you could maybe expand on that idea and talk about what we need to do to make that happen. And we've all heard about the need for a quick response here, both in terms of maintaining our trade position with the United States, but also with what needs to be done in the fight against climate change. But just what we need to do, and it includes the training, just so that we can have the good union jobs that a lot of these workers have been getting in the oil patch as that declines over the decades. What do we need to do right now? What does this government need to do to help your union members?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's, investments along the supply chain. I mean, we're seeing that in the United States where there is sort of a shift towards an industrial policy and an entire supply chain approach. And so Canada is well positioned in terms of our critical minerals. Of course, it will take a lot of time to sort of develop some of those, but we have some that are already, we're seeing increased production in nickel and things like that. And we see some with, occasionally even with government help to try to get contracts to make sure that the minerals that are extracted here are actually manufactured here, and using the facilities and the skills that we have now to be able to manufacture those. Those often exist, but it does take some planning. It takes comprehensive policies, but also working with unions. It takes labor market research, things like that, to really analyze where the potential is, where the gaps might be, and making sure that we're providing training and working with workers to be sure that they're getting the jobs that might emerge. There's the possibility of investments or different types of tax credits. I think you see a lot of that in the IRA. As others have said, we don't need an exact dollar for dollar approach, but some of the things there that they've done in terms of various incentives and investments to make sure that not only are they using, there's the critical minerals component, but there's also the manufacturing component, and those are all there included in this comprehensive policy. So we need something similar that makes sure that we're not just exporting, all of our critical minerals abroad and having the manufacturing done there.
Well, thank you. And, you also mentioned green steel. We hear I hear the government talking about green steel and how Canada is going to be a leader in this. And can you just maybe update me and the rest of the committee on where we are with green steel and how long that timeline is? And are we ahead of the United States? And will this give us an advantage with these talks?
Yeah, so on that, I would say we're already a leader in green steel. In terms of Canadian steel, it's some of the cleanest in the world. Of course, it's high emissions, but comparatively, it is much lower emissions than the steel produced almost anywhere in the world. And it's sort of on par with the United States. It might be a little bit cleaner. So there's things that we can do immediately in that sense, which is in public procurement policies, having emissions. You have emissions targets within the public procurement policies so that when you're doing public infrastructure, you're using greener steel, which often would then be steel made in Canada. We also need to maintain our access to U.S. markets as much as possible. And as much as the U.S. is turning towards lower emissions steel, Canada is very well placed on that, even just with the current level of emissions from steel. But in terms of longer term, the shift, different technologies coming in to make steel cleaner. Yes, we need more investment into that, whether it's hydrogen or even shifting over towards electric arc furnaces. That's part of it. It's not the only solution, but we've seen investments into Algoma, for example, to shift towards an electric arc furnace. And that hopefully will maintain the mill and the community in Sault Ste. Marie for a long time. On that, I will just say that when we're making those types of investments, you got to make sure that you're actually including the union in the discussions, because some of our members will lose their jobs or have to get retrained. And in order to get real union support on these types of things, you need to include us. And so that's just something that I will always emphasize. But generally, I think Canada right now is very well positioned on green or clean steel. And we can only get better on that. And it'll be helpful both in terms of use in domestic infrastructure projects, but also in the U.S.
Thank you very much. Mr. Baldinelli for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being here this afternoon. I'm just going to build on several of what past witnesses have talked about, and I think Mr. Montgomery has talked about it as well. With the IRA in the United States, it takes more of an enabling approach, and I think, Mr. Montgomery, you talked about the carrot and stick, and that's been raised approach that Canada kind of pursues, and that's been raised by previous witnesses as well. When you're seeing $390 billion injected into the system, the Americans are looking to pull in investment, while Canada has that ability where it's almost the regulatory uncertainty of where we're going to go. Mr. Kennedy, you talked about we almost need to act with a sense of urgency to respond to the provisions of the IRA. I mean, when we look at some of the tax credits, Mr. Montgomery, this one would be for you. I mean, those credits specifically that talk about, the critical mineral provisions. I mean, they put it right in their legislation. They're talking about it's going to have to increase from 40% in 2023 to 50% in 2024, 60% in 2025, 70% in 2026. I mean, are we even able right now, Canada, to commit to that, to fulfill those requirements? I mean, do we still have regulatory burdens that hinder us from being able to meet that kind of demand?
So I guess I would respond in the first instance by saying, our members explore for and produce oil and natural gas, and so, they're not so much invested in the critical minerals space at this particular time, although it may be of interest in the future, given that some of those critical minerals are contained within, the brines and stuff that are produced through oil and natural gas. But
on the whole regulatory front, I mean, to draw in that type of investment, investors and corporations are looking for certainty, and is Canada that place that's providing that right now?
So Yes, I would agree that investor certainty is key and regulatory certainty is key. And with respect to CCUS, which I raised today, Canada does need to do some more and quickly. As I said, government has 2 or 3 different levers they could pull to create that certainty, and they could do it pretty quickly, I think.
Mr. Kennedy, could you comment on that at all in terms of the regulatory certainty and the aspects that this government needs to also move to look at and examine as part of its budget probably in March to provide some certainty for those looking to invest?
Well, absolutely. In the fall economic statement, you did see, some focus on clean hydrogen and critical minerals, which are very important. And at least in an effort to accelerate, our move toward those resources. At the same time, we know there's incredible interest in LNG around the world. Our partners have come to Canada asking for LNG and are curious about LNG. And one of the things that, and we know that our government has at least spoken about supporting our friends and allies around the world through our energy and energy security. And we have asked for some details to clarify, how we would assist in developing these projects to ease the regulatory burden, to speed up the approval process where necessary, so that our partners can rely on Canada to be part of their energy mix for the future and for energy security. We didn't see that in the fall economic statement, but we certainly hope it'll be clarified in Budget 2023.
Thank you. Ms. Gingrich, if I quickly can go to you. I mean, I come from an auto manufacturing area, just like my colleague, Mr. Carey. And currently I've got an engine plant that is located right next to my riding. It employs 1,200 workers. At one time, we had 3 plants in that community, 10,000 workers all running at 3 shifts. For the point that you had raised about, not only being a destination for critical mineral extraction, but you'd like to see manufacturing jobs created as well. I mean, selfishly, I think we'd all like to see those investments made in our local communities as well. And I'd like to see investments made in that engine plant going into the future. But you had talked in your conversations, and there's a distinction. The Americans are looking through this act. I mean, they've tied their industrial policy into their environmental policy. $390 billion over 10 years. They're going to reduce emissions by 40% by 2030, and there's no carbon tax there. You had mentioned in your remarks about Canada not raising the carbon tax. Can you explain how that makes it a disadvantage in terms of an investment here to manufacturers?
Well, it can if it's unequal. I mean, if there's a carbon tax here and there isn't in the United States, and then there's all sorts of other incentives for them to produce in the U.S., and it gives a clear advantage to U.S. steel producers. It just simply would cost more to do it here. I think there's several solutions to that. It's not that we're necessarily opposed to a carbon tax at all. I think maybe there's other methods of, I talked about the green steel before and sort of incentivizing the use of that for procurement policies and things like that. That's a way of ensuring that we're still producing things domestically despite what could be a disadvantage. It's more that we needed multiple policy responses to ensure that we're not disadvantaged. I did also mention the carbon border adjustment, which is something that our union has been in favor of. As one way to ensure that we're not just, this maybe is more of sort of looking internationally at the overproduction of steel that exists globally and that sort of coming into our market as a way of undercutting Canadian steel.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Thank you very much. Mr. Mio.
Madam Chair, and thank you for all the witnesses for appearing today. First, I'd like to ask Mr. Mayor, through the chair, you mentioned in your remark about the refinery in Burnaby, British Columbia, and knowing the recent gas prices in British Columbia are at record high. And I understand your company are planning on an expansion with the current refinery facility. Can you tell the committee a little more on what's the plan moving forward to meet the transition to clean technology, and how will this benefit, British Columbian on having less on to pay for their gas?
Yeah, thank you for the question. We plan to invest well over $650 million under the right in the right environment, of course, in a renewable diesel complex with the potential to invest in sustainable aviation fuel. And that will be 6,500 barrels per day, which is a little over 1 million liters of low carbon sustainable fuels. This economic activity, this expansion of the refinery will bring hundreds and hundreds of jobs during construction. And of course, it will lead to dozens of permanent jobs, good union paying jobs at the refinery for many, many years to come. So it is a great benefit economically to British Columbia and to all of Canada, because we will be able to bring in Canadian raw materials, canola oil, tallow, forestry residues, use Canadian railroads, Canadian labor, and then put it back in Canadians' tanks.
Thank you for that. And you mentioned in your remark about the domestic demand is decreasing. What's your plan moving forward to promote more domestic supply being used domestically, and how is also the IRA impacting right now?
Yes, so we do want to continue to increase our current low carbon fuels manufacturing capacity and take that to the consumers in Canada, in British Columbia. The IRA, again, just implies, because of the uncompetitive nature that we will be in, that we will not be able to compete once our facility is up and running against U.S. production, because the variable cost for U.S. producers to make those low carbon fuels will be much lower than our cost to manufacture, and therefore we won't be able to compete. And so what will happen is, while we continue to advance our low carbon fuel standards here in Canada, that supply has to come from somewhere. The U.S., it can come from overseas, of course, but the U.S. today supplies most of the ethanol and biodiesel and renewable diesel that we consume here in Canada, and that trend will only continue. And so the hope is that by leveling the playing field, we can compete on a level playing field.
And I understand right now jet fuel are being transported to YVR, which is part of my riding of Richmond Center. And understanding the Abbotsford Airport is also becoming the international airport in the more suburb area. Will those demands also impact how the production level moving forward in the future?
Yes, absolutely. YVR is a large consumer, as we all know, of jet fuel today, and will be a large consumer for sustainable aviation fuel in the future. Exactly what those regulations to consume sustainable aviation fuel look like, we'll have to see in terms of the pace, but it is coming, and we want to be a part of the solution. But again, we need a level playing field in order to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. On to Mr. Sabard Tremblay for 2.5 minutes, please.
Madame Gingrich,
Ms. Ingridge, if you are ready, we can continue the discussion where we left off. In your view, because you were saying earlier that you are uncertain about whether or not the funds are good enough, and what measures do you think need to be implemented urgently to respond to the new American legislation?
Is this specific to the sustainable jobs that you were asking about earlier? That fund?
oui, mais ça,
Yes, but you can respond more generally as well if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard for me to say in terms of specifics what, like, both in terms of that particular fund, but also overall in terms of the actual money that needs to go towards all of this. I don't have a good estimate at this time in terms of what that looks like. But I think the main thing is to develop a comprehensive policy, to look at it similarly to how the U.S. is looking at it, which is essentially a sort of green industrial policy where it's tied action on climate is tied in with job creation, with a particular emphasis on creating good union jobs. So it'll be, there's a host of measures. We need to expand on some of the things that we've seen, which we've started to see some tax credits and other types of incentives for clean energy and that type of stuff. But as some of the others have said today, it's not always clear exactly, some of the rules within that are not as clear as what we've seen in the IRA. So I think what we need to see is more clarity on various tax incentives. We need green procurement policies. We've started to see that, but we need stronger ones that ensure that we're using clean steel, aluminum, wood, cement in infrastructure projects, and that those will create good jobs here in Canada. And we need policy concurrence across the spectrum that includes on trade, where we're making sure that we have things like whether it's carbon border adjustments or other types of things where we're not just sort of undercutting our own domestic manufacturing by bringing things in that are cheaper from abroad, that are poorer on the environment and poorer in terms of labor. And so it's hard for me to quantify exactly what that looks like, but I think what we need is clear, comprehensive planning that connects climate policy with job creation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Canning for 2.5 minutes, please.
Well, thanks. And I just wanted to continue again with Ms. Gingrich on, I was hoping to ask you earlier, but ran out of time. And you mentioned it a couple of times since, and that is the border adjustments. I've been hearing about border adjustments for the last 7 years. The last couple of years, the government has started talking about them. Where are we with the possibility of border adjustments, and how likely is it to happen? Is there a timeline where that might happen? Is this something we can rely on? That's what I'm trying to get at.
I think it's part of something larger. I mean, the European Union's been working on theirs and designing theirs for years, and it's not a fast process. It's something that does take a long time. I know there was a consultation maybe about a year ago on this, where we did put in a submission. The United Steelworkers did. And as far as I know, that sort of stalled. I could be wrong about that, but it sort of was something that we heard a lot about as the EU was developing its carbon border adjustment mechanism. And so I think it is something that we need to look into in more detail and come up with a plan. It will be several years before it gets implemented if that's the way we go with it. It's certainly not the only policy option, but it's one that's important and one that we find with our members. Particularly in energy-intensive industries like steelmaking, do typically support where they're, in other places they have fears about various decarbonization efforts. But this is something that we really find that our members get behind.
Okay, and in the short time, 1 minute I have left, I'll go to Mr. Golanowski, and I'm curious as to where the carbon capture market and system is outside the oil and gas industry in Canada. I think you briefly mentioned things like some of the heavy industry where in Europe we see people going to carbon capture. Is that happening in Canada?
Well, plans and engineering are underway, but I would say until we have clarity on policy and price, I think it's unlikely to see large volumes of capital being deployed. In the United States, with the Inflation Reduction Act, the Section 45Q tax credit was substantially upgraded. And so for the production of hydrogen, electricity, ammonia, ethanol, a variety of the building blocks of reality, of society, the United States has chosen to pay for the carbon capture and sequestration process. And so producers of those products, hydrogen, ammonia, so on, in Canada, we are using a carbon tax plus the investment tax credit. And so it's different approaches, but I would very much echo the comments that have been made today that, the United States is prepared to buy the carbon and pay for it. And so industry participants would see that as far more competitive and more interesting to attract capital.
Thank you very much. Mr. Martel, for 5 minutes, please.
Ma question est pour Monsieur Kennedy.
My question is for Mr. Kennedy. What's currently concerning me is that foreign investors are coming less and less to Canada. And I really heard what you said earlier, that with the Inflation Reduction Act, investors will go to the United States because they are advantaged there. I would like to have your ideas here to not leave the advantage to the Americans. What needs to be done for us?
Well, thank you, and it's a very difficult question because we have the same impression that there's a great deal of interest in Canada from a wide range of countries around the world that haven't always necessarily invested a lot in Canada, but are looking to Canada as part of their climate change plans, but also for economic or energy security. But the Inflation Reduction Act has changed the landscape for Canada. Every investor that's looking at Canada is at least going to question whether IRA presents a more favorable environment to invest in the United States over Canada. So it is a real serious challenge. And given that companies are making plans and countries are making plans for their economy for the next, several decades, whether it's a span of several months, we don't have answers to these questions, or half a year or a year, that's time where it's going to be very difficult for Canada to attract certain kinds of investment where in the United States they have very clear sets of rules, plans, whether tax credits or other incentives in place. And so it is absolutely critical. And looking once again to the fall economic statement, some plans were outlined to address this competitiveness gap, but many of the details need to be confirmed or ironed out, whether that's in the budget or in the time in between. And the top line message is just act with a sense of urgency and make sure that we clarify these as soon as possible to any international investor.
Bon, encore une fois, j'entends des mots.
So again, I'm hearing the same words over and over again, that we need to act quickly, that we need to be more clear. We're never clear enough. November 1st, 2022, a Canadian manufacturer stated that some measures of the Inflation Reduction Act have radically increased funds that the government gives to American manufacturing companies. It states that these financial measures could cause investments to leave Canada towards the United States and lead to job losses. As affirms that manufacturing company, investors would leave. Which Canadian sectors would be the most impacted?
So certainly, Canada has certain advantages, and we know that Canada is home to many of the critical minerals, which would give us at least some hope that we have some advantages just naturally in certain sectors. But as we move throughout the supply chain, if you're looking at the auto manufacturing sector, the auto parts sector, the battery supply chain, we know there's a real competitiveness challenge now given IRA. And there's many other sectors where it's the same situation. So in the same way that we saw a great deal of interest and some great announcements in the past several years or even recent months, to keep up this momentum, to keep up that interest, we are going to have to find a way, and whether that's with the auto sector itself or in other areas of advanced manufacturing and clean technology, Canada really does have to address this competitiveness gap and do so very quickly. Otherwise, companies will look elsewhere.
Do you find that it's normal, because you're talking about critical minerals, that our phosphate is of good quality here and that it's not yet recognized as an essential mineral? What do you think of this?
You want to direct?
Sorry, was that a question?
To Mr. Wilson?
Was that a question for me? Oh, sorry.
I repeat?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, je voudrais vous donner.
I wanted to ask if you find it normal, because you talked about critical minerals, that we have quality phosphate in Canada and we're not able in Canada to get it recognized as such. And as you know, with electric vehicles and stuff like that, we could have some advantages. So what is your perspective on this?
It doesn't look like anyone has a perspective.
Monsieur Kennedy.
For Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, I haven't changed.
I unfortunately wouldn't have any technical information there, but certainly something I can look into, and I think some folks working in the mining sector would be better positioned to answer that question.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, your time is up. Mr. Varani.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to direct this question to Ms. Gingrich. I was actually quite pleased to hear you talking about sort of the approach of the American IRAs really being a wedding between sort of climate policy and sort of a new industrial policy. That's the kind of vernacular we've been using as a government for literally 7 years. I can remember Catherine McKenna talking about the economy and the environment go hand in hand, sometimes to ridicule on the part of certain members of the House of Commons, but so be it. So we know that this has now come into sharp relief. I think there was a bit of an abeyance under the Trump administration about how acute that linkage was, but with the Biden administration, with the IRA, it's been thrown into sharp focus. So agreement, in complete agreement with you on that. I'll confess some puzzlement about your opening intervention, however, and I think Mr. Baldinelli asked you about it, but I'm going to ask you about it again, because you talked about the carbon price itself. You'll know that steel and aluminum and cement are trade-exposed industries. You've outlined that. You know that they're not subject to the carbon price in the same manner as other industries. They're subject to what's called the output-based pricing system, which accounts for the fact that they're trade-exposed. But you also mentioned Algoma. And, you know, my colleague Terry Sheehan always talks about Algoma and that electric arc furnace innovation that you mentioned. Isn't having a carbon price the exact market mechanism that economists have been urging us to constantly have, because it gives clarity to industry, first of all, in terms of the pricing, but secondly, it spurs innovation in industry, such as what you're seeing in Algoma right now. So could you just comment on that? Because I'm having trouble understanding your and your union's position. Thanks.
Sure. I mean, our union isn't opposed to a carbon tax. I guess the issue that we see here is that there's, you know, the lack of one. If there's a lack of one in another country, and there's also additional incentives there, then that, without additional policy measures domestically, then that could give you know, an additional advantage to like U.S. steel production, for example. So it's not a complete opposition to the carbon tax so much as we are hesitant to advocate for any increase of it at this time. And I think in terms of Algoma, yes, there is a shift to the electric arc furnace. There was also a major investment there that that assisted that as well. It's true that having some clarity on these things is helpful. What we want is some degree of equality between advanced manufacturing countries in terms of carbon pricing as much as possible, or again, as I've said, concurrent policies that ensure that we're not losing out because we have a price and other places don't. And that's why I've mentioned it in conjunction with a carbon border adjustment, and also things like green procurement policies that ensure that we're creating domestic markets for steel and aluminum and other products.
And I think the green procurement idea is actually a very, very sound one. And I heard your comments with respect to Mr. Cannings when he was asking about the border adjustment policy. But I also think the vernacular is actually important. You'll probably be fully aware that the carbon price was challenged in the Supreme Court of Canada, and they clearly and unequivocally indicated it is not actually a tax at all. It doesn't have any of the hallmarks of a tax because the money is returned to individual Canadians. But let me turn now to Mr. Kennedy. We've been talking about sort of unionized jobs, and we've been talking about different sectors that can be supported. One thing that is included in the new investment tax credit regime is small modular reactors on the nuclear side, and there's a bit of a caveat thrown into the fall economic statement about large nuclear being explored. Can you add to the conversation and give us your thoughts about large nuclear and how that fits into our proposals in terms of what we need to support as clean energy needs for Canada and for the rest of the planet, and how you would envisage some sort of tax credit applying to nuclear, particularly large nuclear. So over to you, Mr. Kennedy.
Well, thank you. And one of Canada's advantages we know is that we have access to clean electricity, and because of Canada, you know, also supporting nuclear power, both in the large sense and toward the future with SMRs, we have an incredible opportunity again, you know, supporting our access to hydroelectricity and other clean forms of electricity. This is an advantage for Canada. And certainly, I'm not aware of any plans for expansion across Canada. I guess I'd have to look at each jurisdiction individually. But it is an advantage for Canada when we look at our competition around the world that we do have access to clean electricity, and certainly in that question about competitiveness.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoback, for 5 minutes, please, and nice to see you back at committee.
Thank you, Chair, and it's nice to see everybody around the table. And I want to thank the witnesses for giving us their Friday afternoon so that we could talk about something very important in Canada. Ms. Gingrich, you kind of talked about the carbon tax, and I think what you're trying to say, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, is you don't like being disadvantaged by it. So if there's a carbon tax equally across the border in the U.S. as there is in Canada, and it's the same cost per ton of carbon in Canada as it is in the U.S., you would not be opposed to a carbon tax. But if there isn't, then the carbon tax creates a problem for you and your members. Is that fair to say?
I think it could. I mean, I think I want to be careful on this. We're not opposed to putting a price on carbon. We're not necessarily opposed to a carbon tax. But yes, I mean, I think that the combination of the lack of a price on carbon in the United States with the provisions of the IRA could put the Canadian steel industry at a disadvantage, including for our members. And so there's, as I've said, I don't want to get too repetitive. There's a host of measures of dealing with that. We're not absolutely opposed to the carbon tax or putting a price on carbon, only that we have to be careful about the impact on those trade exposed sectors.
So it's fair to say, though, what we see in this current environment right now is you've got a program, a carbon tax, which is basically a punitive program, and you've got programs in the States which are more like carrots. So you're incentivizing companies to do the right thing, where in Canada, you're punishing companies by taxing them to do the same thing. Is that not creating a really disjointed balance in regards to where you locate your businesses going forward? If you're going to get punished in Canada and you get rewarded in the U.S., wouldn't you see more activity in the U.S. in light of that? And wouldn't that impact the aluminum and steel business as well?
It could. I mean, especially if there's no, procurement policies and things like that. I mean, I think we have seen some, and we would like to see more in terms of domestic procurement to have those sort of green provisions, because the aluminum, and I haven't focused as much on aluminum, but aluminum and steel, again, as I've said, is some of the cleanest in the world. And so I think you can counter that with those types of, carrots, as you put them. So we need to be careful. We need to match or do something that works in the Canadian context to ensure that we're not disadvantaged.
Yeah, and of course, Mr. Martel, of course, is the man during USMCA that coined the phrase green aluminum, green steel, and actually created a differential in the product, so it's not a commodity. So it actually has value because of what goes into the process. And I know we've heard a little bit talked about. Okay, we've got green power, we've got hydropower, we're talking about small modular reactors, which are all great things. I think going down the road, small modular reactors are still 10 years away, and we have lots of hydropower. But when you look at the whole production facility process, let's say a refinery, you're also going to need CCS, carbon capture and sequestration, and you're going to need it for example, in the cement sector, or you're going to need it in the steel producing sector. If you don't see CCS getting the same incentives in Canada as they are right now in the U.S., again, why would you locate your facility in Canada if you can get all those credits in the U.S., plus you can meet your ESG requirements, or EGS requirements, or ESG requirements in the U.S., where in Canada you can't? Wouldn't you not agree?
I mean, I think that this kind of gets to if that was still for me, or
yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess this is what we're talking about, right? Is the need for Canada to have similar policies that exist in the IRA to ensure that that production doesn't move to the United States, or that new production isn't only created in the United States. And so the IRA covers all of those things. And so that's what we're saying here, is that we need something similar. And if we're not, if Canada, and we've started to see that, but if we don't see more comprehensive policy on these things, then yes, there's a possibility that investing in the U.S. and creating jobs in the United States will be more attractive because of all of the things that are in the IRA.
Mr. Kilger, is it Kilger? Did I pronounce that right? Krogmeyer. You talked about your refineries and the location of your refineries. As you look down the road and you look at your ESG requirements, what do you want to see in the front of your refinery as far as the power that's going into it or the gas that's going into it? And then what do you have to have in the back end of your requirements or for back end requirements in your refinery so that you can actually meet the EGS or ESG requirements that the markets are now asking for? So, we're already hearing stories now. The insurance sector is saying you have to have an EGS program. We're hearing the financial sector saying that if you want us to finance in your operations, you're going to have that. But not only you're going to have to make sure that all your suppliers upstream and downstream are part of that process. So how do you find that, and how is that being done in Canada compared to the U.S.?
It is important that we think about our ESG objectives holistically. So suppliers will be, their qualifications will be important. Are they a responsible counterparty as well? And we evaluate our suppliers and our on the same basis, and are starting to, I should say, more and more. We also need, refineries consume a lot of electricity and a lot of natural gas. So renewable natural gas is something we need on the front end to be able to make that turn, as well as clean electricity. We are a big hydrogen producer. And for our future investments, we will look at producing hydrogen that is what we call greener. I will not say green because there are different definitions between blue, gray, green, et cetera. Yeah. But everything will have to be lower carbon intensity in general, right? All the inputs into the refinery, and then what goes out also has to be lower carbon intensity, and we will use new technology inside the refinery to be able to take, for example, the off gases from the refining process that are low carbon themselves because they come from low carbon raw materials, and we will burn that instead of higher carbon intensity alternative fuels. So again, I go back to the virtuous cycle.
Sorry, your
Just
information
one quick
is very
question.
valuable, and it's an extra minute or so, and I'm trying to get Mr. Sheehan in here for 4 minutes, Mr. Sheehan.
Okay, I apologize.
Mr. Sheehan, go ahead, please.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you for all the testimony for today's very important study, and really wanted to appreciate it. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask my friends from the steelworkers a question. And Cody Alexander, a steelworker from the Sioux, says hello to Marty. So I just I told him I would pass that on. The steelworkers played a pivotal role in the Team Canada approach as we fought 232 tariffs. Working with a counterpart, because we have United Steelworkers here in Canada, we have United Steelworkers in the United States. So my question, Meg, is, what kind of dialogues do you have with the United Steelworkers about the IRA? Do you guys share kind of your ideas for, working together, how we can, because our economies are just so integrated. Algoma Steel and Sault Ste. Marie, 60% of its steel is exported to the United States that goes into the auto industry, the manufacturing industry. And, the 232 tariffs were really a tax on Americans was our position, because as soon as they hit us with 232 tariffs, they're hurting Americans that, their price of their fridge went up by 25%. So Meg, to you, please share some of the dialogue that you have with the Americans about this, American unions.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we do talk quite a bit. I mean, we share our, they were very, the U.S. side of the union shared their analysis of the IRA and in advance, particularly on some of the domestic content requirements. We always work together. It's always a delicate balance with the rest of the, the larger U.S. labor movement. But as much as possible, we're very united in promoting a sort of a binational approach that Canada, when it comes to, a history of cheap imports that have flooded North American markets and hurt manufacturing jobs and those types of things. Canada is never the problem. We're, the best trading partner and all of that. And so we talk at the highest levels of the union. We share our analysis. A third of the total membership is in Canada. And so we're very influential in terms of the union's policies overall. And so even if we see a problem now with certain aspects of the IRA that we think might hurt our membership, We'll talk with our folks in the U.S. They work quite closely with the Democratic Party in particular and have influence there, as well as with the AFL-CIO. And when we did originally see in a previous iteration the U.S. content for the EVs and batteries, that is something that we were able to work with our leadership in the union in the United States to ensure that they had influence over the AFL-CIO position, as well as directly the steelworkers position. And again, being an international union was extremely helpful under the Section 232 tariffs. We immediately responded to that, saying Canada's not the problem, and we were able to use our influence in the United States, working with the Canadian side to get those repealed eventually.
And that's excellent. One of the observations, and I shared this with the committee earlier, Meg, was Canada being at the forefront of decarbonizing its steel outputs by going from coal to electric arc. I mean, the market onto itself, is looking towards electric vehicles. And so, how challenging would it be? Well, not challenging, but I mean, it would just be real simple for a steel producer, an automaker, to say, well, that's a great electric vehicle, but it's made, in large part with carbon that's produced by steel from another jurisdiction. I'll just say that. So would you not agree there's a certain amount of advantage going forward in this whole supply chain, which is shifting exponentially right now towards the electric vehicle manufacturings? Would you care to provide perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we are well advantaged, Canadian steel and other sort of cleaner industrial products. But steel in particular, yes, especially if there's requirements to have particular carbon output from the production of the materials that go into something, Canada's extremely well positioned. We need to make sure that we can take advantage of that and continue to push for a binational approach. And certainly our union will continue to do that as much as possible.
Right. Thank you very much.
For your.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our witnesses. Again, every one of these meetings is invaluable information for all of us at the committee. So thank you all very much. To the members of the committee, we were scheduled to go into committee business. I've been asked by Mr. Hoback if we could defer the discussion until Tuesday's meeting, Madam Clerk. And if that's okay with everybody, we're going to defer the discussion of the committee travel till next Tuesday meeting.
Pour ma part,
I'm not there next week, so I would have liked to be a part of the discussions.
If it would require us to go in camera. If we were to discuss this, we have to go in camera? Or? Okay, we don't have to. So we could have a very brief discussion. The options are one or two that are here, and the discussions are, do we do 3 days in Singapore and 2 days in New Delhi? But I'm suggesting that the logistics officer, when they try to arrange these possible trips, that it be done depending on where we can get the most direct flights and where the logistics work better from the logistics office, right? Because some of them, if we can get a direct flight, that would be preferable. And second to that, Mr. Sheehan and Mr. Hoback have had extensive travel through this committee. So they are well equipped to maybe help to make the very best recommendations. So if we get to travel, we want to make the best of that opportunity as well with their input.
Est-ce qu'on peut entendre leurs recommandations?
Can we hear their recommendations then?
Mr. Barani?
So just in terms of adding in my 3 cents worth, I would think it might be more useful to spend 3 days in Delhi as opposed to 3 days in Singapore, given the significance of the market in India and what's at stake, and given the extensive work that's already been done in the Asia Pacific by the governmental delegation that's already there.
So we'll have a further discussion on Tuesday on this. Yeah, Mr. Savartambe.
Il y a un scénario pour la semaine.
There's a scenario for the week of for February 12th and for March 12th. One is parliamentarian and the other isn't. I just wanted to know what the determining factor is.
The determining factor for all of this travel will be the House, and it'll be the whips. We've adjusted those dates that were put in here at the time to simply indicate that it will be, this is for travel next winter, in the coming winter. And we'll decide further on if we get House approval exactly when is the most appropriate date. So it's still very much up in the air. Is that all right? Everybody's good? Okay, so I think everybody knows it's Friday, and everybody looks like they're all tired and they're ready to have a wonderful, restful weekend. So thank you, Madam Clerk, and to our translators, and I will move adjournment.